Hello, and welcome to my Modlist showcase, where I give an overview and opinion on mod lists to help find the right one for you. This time, we're looking at Fable Lore by user Rage, released for Skyrim Anniversary Edition. The version I've been playing on is version 1.15.1, released on the 16th of October 2022, and you can check on the list Discord linked below for any changes and updates. Firstly, what is Fable Lore? The description reads, Fable Lore is a D-leveled list with modernised combat and a focus on survival, with stunning graphics, new lands and new storylines. It's built for every type of playstyle, from mages to warriors, with every RPG aspect touched on in some way to offer a more in-depth experience. Fable Lore is available to download from the Wabberjack Modlist installer. While I won't cover the specifics of the installation in this video, the installation process is explained with clear instructions provided on their website. And for further help with the download, you can follow along with my Wabberjack explanation guide video on my channel and linked below. With around 600 mods, you'll need around 110GB of storage to download, and once installed, everything is already configured, so you can boot it up and get playing immediately. Now for what the mod list adds. For this showcase, I'll be showing clips taken throughout my current playthrough. I spent plenty of time with this list, and so I have a good grasp on what it's like to play. This list takes the world of Skyrim and makes it far more dense, with vegetation and new buildings to find. Mods like Nature of the Wildlands and the Cathedral Plant Collection add a huge amount of diversity to forests, making every tree feel unique from one another, while still feeling appropriate for the region. And it pairs perfectly with the Seasons of Skyrim and Turn of the Seasons mods, which add 4 distinct seasons that will change throughout your playthrough, and it's just one of the best things to immerse you into the world. And for lighting, the recent Lux mods provide a complete overhaul for interior and exterior lighting, making Skyrim feel like a more recent game release. Also, when it comes to textures, the mod Skyland AIO is used as a base, providing high quality textures that stick to vanilla's look. Then there's the EMB, with Pycho EMB being installed by default. It adds more depth to the shadows, while emphasising the colder Nordic feeling of Skyrim. As for performance, this list performs well on mid to high range PCs. Also, there's the option to choose between high, medium and low graphical presets to best suit your PC's needs. I ran at an almost consistent 60 FPS, although I did notice some dips in areas where new buildings have been placed, like here outside Whiterun. As for bugs, everything worked well for me, with no bugs or crashes in sight. That's not saying there aren't any to find, but just I didn't encounter any. The gameplay of Fable Lore is far more in-depth and challenging than the base game, with an emphasis on survival and immersion, without making things too harsh. First there's the new perks, with the mod Ordinator overhauling the perk tree with 469 new perks to unlock, all of which being tweaked and balanced as best they can. This creates a huge amount of variety between characters, and allows you to really specify how you want to play. To go along with this, numerous mods by the author Eon Sion have been included. Many of these are balanced and add more variety to specific aspects of Skyrim. For example, Imperius makes the races of Skyrim unique and diverse, with new racial abilities, powers and stats. Evenstar adds new attributes for standing stones. Wintersun provides benefits for worshipping a deity. And Summer Mist adds 120 new enchantments to the game. As for other changes to gameplay, the Coin mod adds new types of coins with different values, to help make the economy more interesting. And the Honed Metal mod allows blacksmiths and mages all over Skyrim to craft, temper and enchant your equipment, for a price. Speaking of equipment, the Simple Degradation mod adds a durability system, so weapons and armour will degrade over time unless tempered. As this list was made with survival in mind, the Survival Mode Improved mod is included, which takes the game's own survival mode and builds upon it, with new effects for hunger, weather and fatigue. It pairs nicely with the Hunterborn mod, which includes new hunting tools for dressing, skinning, harvesting, and butchering animals. And just overall, loads of small survival and immersion mods are included, which have you take more care of your character and slowly changes your stats as you get used to the world. Going along with the theme of survival, Fable Lore has made combat far more in-depth and deadly, with every strike and movement being incredibly important. To start off, the vanilla combat mod adds a new level of stamina management, where now, light attacks that hit the enemy regenerate stamina, whereas ones that miss cost extra stamina, and if you let it run out, you'll become exhausted and deal less damage. The mod also introduces a stun system, where every enemy has a stun meter which drains during combat, and once fully depleted, they'll be left far more vulnerable and open for execution attacks, much like how the new God of War games play. Movement in combat has also been improved, with the mod Combat Gameplay Overhaul adding in dodge rolls, leaning, better dual wielding, and more. And it works well with true directional movement, which makes third-person combat play like a modern RPG. Also, NPCs have been vastly improved with a variety of mods, with better AI and better use of their arsenal. And one of the standout changes comes from the Shadow of Skyrim mod, which implements the beloved Nemesis system from Shadow of Mordor. What this means is, if an enemy defeats you, they'll become a named NPC that's far more powerful. They'll also take your gear, and instead of reloading a previous save, you'll wake up somewhere nearby. This urges you on a quest to hunt down your killer and retrieve your items, which really adds a breath of personality to Skyrim's NPCs. Tons of new quests have been added into the world of Skyrim, such as with the Wheels of Lull and numerous quest expansions to the vanilla story. The largest and most popular of them is the Legacy of the Dragonborn mod, which adds new quests, new items, a new museum, new guilds, and more into Skyrim, all seamlessly integrated into the world. There's also many quests which take you into whole new lands, such as Somerset Isle and beyond Skyrim Bruma. With so many quests, not all of them can stick strictly to Skyrim's lore, but nothing felt out of place, as they're all of high quality. As for Skyrim's landscape, the huge JK Skyrim collection of mods has been included, which overhaul most of the game's major locations to be more dense with buildings and objects. And there's also the mods by user Rin, which overhaul even more locations, like farms and smaller towns. So if you played Skyrim before, this mod list offers a fresh coat of paint to the world, with much more to explore. A number of new music mods have been included, such as Still and Melodies of Civilization. You can see them all here, and you can go to their Nexus mod pages if you want to give the tunes a listen. And with the Immersive Sounds Compendium and Audio Overhaul mods, the world of Skyrim is brought to life and feels far more natural. Have a listen for yourself. The Immersive Armours mod provides hundreds of new wearables into the game, including new armour sets, shields, capes, accessories, and more, all of which found throughout the world and fitting perfectly into Skyrim's aesthetic. Alongside the mod comes immersive weapons, which includes 230 new weapons distributed across Skyrim, as well as new weapon types such as spears, katanas, quarterstaffs, and more. Also, some new survival and immersion items have been included, with the mod Vitrium adding in new tools, consumables, and spells. For example, a whetstone can be used to maintain a weapon's sharpness, and a cooking stove can be crafted to cook food on the go. Finally, there's the new spells, with the mod Odin including new spells that fit seamlessly into the level list, and balances out many of the existing spells. Also mods like Triumvirate and Tonal Architect add new spell classes, such as Druids, Warlocks, and Clerics. For some extra points to talk about, the UI is updated to be less intrusive and have a more fantasy feel to it. Immersive Speechcraft adds more dialogue options to NPCs, with more quests to find by talking to them. The mod Spell Tutor means it takes more time to learn spells, and you must be proficient in spellcasting before discovering higher level tomes. New combat animations are included, which you can see here. Skyrim Unbound Reborn changes up the start of the game, where you can select what gear you have, what spells you know, whereabouts you want to live, and even whether or not you're the Dragonborn. And finally, new companions have been added, including the popular Inigo, Lucian, and Ayla. Now for some additions to the list, but first I must stress, any changes you make to the list has nothing to do with the Modlist author. You should only do so if you have an understanding of modding and accept that any consequences are yours to deal with. Before adding anything, it's worth checking out the tracker page on the Modlist's website. Here, you can see what might be added in the future and what mods have been ruled out. And this site also mentions how to swap out the EMB for one of your choosing. Because of the survival setting, I'd personally include Skyrim Souls RE, which makes it so entering menus doesn't pause the game, so fights feel far more intense. Although the mod can be awkward with some menus, so just be aware of that. As for including new weapons and armour, it's always important to make sure they're balanced for survival, and it's worth noting that you can dive into the survival control panel and adjust settings like warmth and item weight. Also, the CGO mod adds a slight sway to your camera as you move around. I know a lot of people like this, but for me it gives a bit of motion sickness, so I easily switched it off in the mod menu. As a final note, patches for ultra-wide are offered from the get-go, so, thank you, because it makes my life so much easier when recording. As someone who prefers playing Skyrim with survival mods, I expected that to be my favourite part of the list. And while the survival aspect is certainly well done, what stood out to me is the world. Everywhere in Skyrim feels more dense and full of life, without sacrificing the feeling offered by the base game. And this list has one of my favourite implementations of Seasons of Skyrim, as the changing seasons not only changes the visuals, but also the world itself, with animals going in and out of hibernation, and plants dying off in colder months. I play survival not because I enjoy the challenge, but because it makes me feel like an actual character living in the world, and this list really caters to that aspect of the game. All of this, plus the more in-depth crafting, leveling, combat, and more, all work to benefit roleplay without sacrificing balance. If you want a mod list where you can take things slow, gradually improving your character, while witnessing a new and ever-changing landscape, then Fable Lore is the one for you. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you gave it a like as it helps the channel grow, and hit the subscribe button and the bell and whatever YouTube wants you to do nowadays. I also have a Twitch where I plan on streaming someday, and a Discord if you want to talk about mod stuff or anything else. Other than that, huge thank you to my Patreon supporters, Cowlin Ranner, Alec Bentley, Emperador Wolf, Jack Ma, and Christian Hell. With your contributions, I'm able to spend as much time as I do on these videos, and I'm looking to create more content in the future, like playthroughs and such, so thank you. And I also have a Ko-fi account if you want to give like little one-time donations. Thank you everyone, and farewell.